What's up, everybody? Soren Baker here on Best Albums, and today we're joined by Big Gipp. Thank you for coming through, sir.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure. And today, Big Gipp has selected Spice One's self-titled album, dropped back in 1992. So, for you, Gipp, what makes this a best album?
What makes this the best album is, first of all, we're going to deal with storytelling. Spice One was one of the best storytellers from the Bay at the time. And as far as records, and as far as just new styles, new ways of putting records out, I think that was the first record that I really seen a political side, also a very, a poet side from him, and then he also represented just the sounds and the new musics of what I had never heard before on rap at the time, which was 1992, Spice One.
Yeah, so with that, at the time, of course, the Bay was most known for having Too Short. And Too Short, I think, obviously people know him most for like the pimp and the sex rhymes, but he had a lot of political stuff too. You know, Money in the Ghetto, I Want to Be Free, City of Dope, The Ghetto, Money in the Ghetto. And the thing that I always thought was interesting is that a lot of these dudes from the West Coast, especially the northern part, the Bay Area, Short, Spice One, and even E40, and then as we go throughout the careers, don't get a lot of recognition for that. So as you're getting into Spice One at the time, and you're looking like realizing Short had these political messages, and then getting into Spice, were you think you were more receptive to it because of that, or you think you were just receptive to it as a rap fan?
I was receptive to it as a rap fan. Also, there was somebody that Short had put his hand on and said, yo, this is the guy. You know what I mean?
Because they were both on Jive. Right.
And at that time, with Short style being the Short style is what it is, and what E40 style is what it is, I think that Spice One was the first rapper to me from the Bay that was just totally clear. His message was totally clear, and him being a hip hop artist at the time, his rhyme styles, like just like how you said, like on the same album you had a 1-800 and then a 1-900. So just stuff like that was just very intriguing because it was new to rap at the time.
And then, you know, he kicks off the album with the In My Neighborhood. So with that record, as you're hearing it and getting used to it, it's got like a melody, it's got like singing, but it's also super street. Super
street, and you know, the people that was producing those records, like Ant Banks and people like that, man, they never got the recognition of being great producers.
Right.
And I think along with Ant Banks and along with his writing style at the time, it was just something that was just totally new and something that a kid at that time could get into, because it was a clear depiction of what was going on in the Bay Area, you know. But as far as just the musical journey also, because the sounds and the samples that they used back then were just not records that we were using in the South. So to listen to his album was just totally enjoyable to a person like me, because I was like, yo, I was getting all these new sounds and hearing these records and samples that I'd never heard before in hip hop.
And then he also, you know, made a big deal with the 187. That was like a big deal for him, and throughout his career later, obviously at the 187 he wrote album. So for you and understanding what was going on with the lyrics, like what do you think was noteworthy about him making that such a big thing with his deal?
That at the end of the day, he was a poet. He was a street poet, and what he was doing, the 187, is something that we still know of today. Like, Oakland has always been a real gunplay city.
Right.
And I think, you know, at that time you only heard, you know, E40 was the hustler, Short was the pimp, and man, here comes this street poet that's straight street at the same time. He's able to capture you in his rhymes. He's able to take you and show you and paint a picture. And I think that was something that a lot of MCs from the Bay at that time wasn't doing.
And then Welcome to the Ghetto. I don't know.
My favorite song on the album.
So prior to, well, when this album was coming out in like 92, obviously this is before Southern Playalistic and stuff. So had you been able to travel out to this, to the Bay or anything?
No, I haven't been I haven't had, at that time, I hadn't been out to the Bay. But one thing about it was, in around 1991, in the summer of '92, that's when I was going out to Denver, Colorado a lot. And this was the first time that I was really introduced to Too Short. And once I heard Too Short, it went from Too Short. The first E40 record I ever heard was the Click album, you know? And I remember taking all 3 of these albums back home to Atlanta. And once I got them back to Atlanta, I was kind of like the only dude in East Point that really was listening to Bay music. I just think it was just something about him at the time. He was just an extraordinary lyricist to me.
And with Welcome to the Ghetto in particular, what do you remember about like the story or how he framed things that was different?
The video, man, the video. I just remember just coming home every day from high school and seeing that video, and he did it in black and white. And it was like, it was so dope because him just walking through Oakland, that was kind of like the first time you getting to see his neighborhood and the people that really walked his streets every day. So that song to me was really an introduction to what the inner city of Oakland and San Francisco was like. So it was totally intriguing to me. And him being a lyricist, I never heard nobody put their rhymes together to the way he did at that time.
Yeah, and then also the album, I think musically, we mentioned it earlier, but I think it is important to explain like the melodic nature of the project, because even though he's known for being super street and everything, Ant Banks and others brought a lot of musicality to the album. So how do you feel they had like the Dangerous Crew thing going on, like with Short?
I think at that time they was the organized noise of the Bay. You know, like Ant Banks, Shorty B, you know what I mean? Like
Al Eaton.
It was like they had a sound, and they had a big sound. And you know, one thing that I think that we in the South loved about it is that their producing style used a lot of bass. So it was lovely in the Cadillac.
Of course. And then as far as having such like heavy subject matter throughout the album, like a lot of other artists at the time, you know, we were getting like the Digital Undergrounds, we were getting things where there was a little more balance, and even Short and Eazy-E, they would have like a clean side of their album and a dirty side, but Spice, I think, pretty much was just
straight dirty.
Straight dirty. So for you, when you hear something like that back in the day, like how does that like affect you as a listener? It
affected me as a listener because I knew it was truth behind what he was writing. You know, a lot of MCs these days, they follow what other people are doing, and at that time, you know, technology and just rap itself wasn't, you know, the corporate monster that it is now. So it was kind of like, it was dope, man. It was like an Easter egg hunt during them days, because it was like you could go to all these different places and everybody was putting out different music. It wasn't so controlled in. So just to be able to hear people's clear interpretation of what their neighborhood was, and then you knew that the system wasn't involved, you knew A&Rs wasn't involved, these are what these artists were actually living. That's what made the album so authentic to me, you know, and for him to always be saluted by E40 and you know, Too Short, I felt like they knew that he had something that they didn't have, and for them, it was great that he was representing that side of Oakland and the Bay Area.
Okay, so now looking back, what do you think is the legacy of the Spice One album?
It's one of the greatest records to ever come out of the Bay Area. You know what I mean? Because the man never got his true just due for being just a lyricist. And I think the gangster stuff, just the whole gangster thing on the West Side just really took precedence over, you know, lyricism at that time. And I just wish he got, you know, the recognition for what he did for the West Coast. And you know, a lot of them records went platinum. So I mean, he did during those times, but I just wish that it just, you know, he was still like up on Mount Rushmore as far as lyricists when it comes to the Bay Area, because he is one of the best.
Absolutely, man. And that's why we're here on Best Albums. Big Gipp. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
And make sure to check out Spice One's self-titled album, 1992 Job Records. If you haven't already, I'm Soren Baker, Unique Access, Big Gipp in the building.